All right, all right, all right. Welcome, everybody. Let's give everybody a second or two to log in. Hello, everybody. Glad you're here. For those of you who were here yesterday, you guys are going to see a lot of the same exercises from yesterday, but we're going to be a little bit more active today, which is going to be great. I see everybody streaming in. This is awesome. So welcome, athletes, parents, and coaches, to another edition of #FFT Live presented by Fitter and Faster Swim Camps. I hope you're all well, staying safe, and staying positive. Let us know in chat where you're from and which swim team you're repping. If at any time the chat begins to get a bit overwhelming, you can see off to the right-hand side of your screen a little button. It's red. It's got 3 white dots vertically. You can minimize the chat by clicking that button. If at any point people begin to spam, I will have to remove you from the broadcast, so please do not spam. However, if you have a question at any point, write that down. We'll actually address that at the end of the session. I encourage you to participate in this discussion. We will try to answer your questions at the end. So let's get started. Some of you may already know me, but for those who don't, my name is Tyler Clary, and I have been a clinician with Fitter and Faster for almost 7 years. I'm from Southern California originally, and I now live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I have a background as a professional swimmer on the world stage for about 6 years and was a competitive swimmer for 20 years. Let us know in chat if you're younger than I was a competitive swimmer, because I'm old now. I competed at the London Olympic Games in 2012, where I placed 5th in the 200 butterfly and won the gold medal in the 200 backstroke and set the Olympic record. I went to college at the University of Michigan, where I studied computer science, and I'm now the Director of Sales and Marketing with Fitter and Faster. Welcome to this episode, which is titled Quarantine Fitness with Lee Sommers. We held a webinar yesterday for swimmers ages 9 to 12, and this session is designed for swimmers 13 and older. We're so lucky to have Lee Sommers here with us today. Of course, there are a lot of pools and gyms that are shut down, and we thought it would be good to try and do some live online workouts. That being said, we want everybody to be safe, so make sure that you've cleared out an area so you have room to move if possible, and make sure that there aren't any hazards nearby like tables, shelves, or heavy stuff that you might knock over, etc. We really don't want anybody getting hurt. Let me open up our slide presentation. All right, so a little bit about our dryland training expert. Lee Sommers is a strength and conditioning coach in the Washington, D.C. area with about 20 years of experience in the field. He's been working predominantly with swimmers for the last 7 years. He trains multiple teams year-round, including Nation's Capital Swim Club and Rockville Montgomery Swim Club. He has worked with many college, professional, and national champion swimmers, and most notably was Katie Ledecky's trainer for the 3 years leading up to the 2016 Rio Olympic Games, and she did really well there. I've had the pleasure of working with Lee myself, and the dude really knows his stuff. Welcome, Lee. How are you?
Hey, Tyler. I'm doing great. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. It's another Friday in paradise under quarantine, you know? What do you have in store for us today?
Well, we're going to go through a workout today. We're going to do a little bit of an introduction, talk a little bit about kind of the state of where we are right now and the kind of the things we have control over and the things we don't, and try and make sure that everyone has the resources they need to be able to continue to stay active. I know that's a really challenging thing right now. But I wanted to make sure I'm doing my part to make sure the swim community has a lot of resources, a lot of ideas of what they can do. First thing I wanted to make sure that I communicated to this group in particular is that I understand where you are right now, and I understand the frustration and kind of even the sadness that you guys didn't get to perform where you wanted to perform, whatever championship meets you had coming up, whatever it was, you didn't get to perform. You worked really hard all year to be able to get to a certain point and perform at your best and kind of hit that stride right there where you needed to. And unfortunately, we didn't get to perform the way we wanted to at the meets we wanted to. I can tell you that I'm very disappointed for all my athletes that I have the great pleasure of training. All your coaches are disappointed. Your parents are disappointed. And I know there's a lot of frustration there. And I just wanted everyone to know that I understand and I sympathize. Moving forward, we've got some time now where we can start to address some of the things that will make you better swimmers when you have the opportunity to get back in the water. Obviously, most of you guys can't get in the water right now. But you do have the opportunity with less school and less responsibility everywhere else to be able to kind of make yourselves better athletes as a whole. So we're going to talk about that quite a bit today. Tyler, I wanted you to flash a couple of polls that would kind of allow me to do a really good job of addressing this particular audience, the 13 to 18s. So Tyler's going to post 2 polls for you. One is going to be, what age are you? I'd love to know how many of you are 13, 14, and how many of you are 15 to 18. So I'll allow him to post that. And then the second one is going to be, how many of you are or were doing some strength and conditioning work as part of your swim programs, whether it was with the team or with a strength and conditioning coach like myself, who have some experience with weight training. That's going to kind of give me an idea of where we can take this today. And we've got a kind of a wide audience from 13 to 18 with different exposures, different experience levels. I want to make sure that everyone's getting something out of this, but we're also not jumping too far ahead for people who don't have a ton of experience.
Okay, so this first, we're letting the results for this first poll come in. It looks like about 55% are 13 to 14, 30% are 15 to 18, and 12% are 15 and under, with 1% being over 18. So mostly 13 to 14.
Okay.
Now I'm going to put up another poll here in just a second. It didn't save from earlier for some reason. Have you done strength training before? All right. So for 13 to 14-year-olds, we want to know if you've done strength training before. We're going to display a poll here in just a second for the people who are 15 and above. If you guys are 12 and under, I see Franny Baker, you're 11. That's cool, but be careful. Make sure that you're not doing anything that's a bit above your experience or ability level. All right. It looks like 80% in the 13 to 14 age group have done some strength training before. Let me edit this.
And while Tyler put that up, I can just kind of talk, because when I've taught at Fitter and Faster clinics in the past, it's a big question I get both from the athletes and the parents. When is it time to start doing strength and conditioning work? When is it time to start lifting weights? And the answer is kind of a loaded question. There are 12-year-olds who are very physically mature and can handle some of the rigors of strength training. And then I've got 15-year-olds who are not physically mature enough and have a harder time with the coordination, putting it all together. So it really is a depends type of answer. But I want you to think in terms of, we're not going to go too far ahead of the curve today. I try to not push people past where they currently are and not having face-to-face time with all of you like I do with my athletes. We're going to kind of give a basic program today. I'll show some progressions and regressions, but I want you to kind of understand this should all feel good. It should be challenging, but you shouldn't feel negative stuff. You shouldn't feel pain in your knees. You shouldn't feel pain in your shoulders. Now, your shoulders may feel some work muscular-wise, but I don't want you to feel acute or sharp pain at the joint. We're going to talk about that quite a bit today. Tyler, how are those polls?
Yeah, so it looks like it's pretty even between the 13, 14, and 15 and over group. About 85% of them have done strength training before. So this is really good for starters.
Yeah, so some of this may be very refresher for you, or even if you've done some of these exercises, maybe you'll hear a different cue or a different way of thinking about it that may hit home with you, okay? So part of this is going to be introduction because it's our first time meeting, and then a good portion of it's going to be a workout. So when designing a strength and conditioning or dry land program for this age group, we're trying to address a bunch of different things, some of which we addressed with the younger group as well. So we want to work on your athleticism. We want to work on your fitness level, your coordination, and your stability. As a swimmer, Tyler will tell you, from the moment he started swimming until his last day of swimming, one thing he always focused on was his stability, because it's the only way to keep your joints safe in what is an overused sport. You guys spend a ton of time doing more or less the same patterns, the same movements. So you have to address the stability around the joints, most notably your shoulders, your low back, your hips, and your knees. But obviously shoulders is the big one for most people. And Tyler will certainly chime in with a story about some shoulder issues he had. So we'll always be working on stability. We'll just be progressing stability from what the 12-year-olds get and the 11-year-olds get to what 17 and 18-year-olds get to protect their shoulders. It obviously grows over time, just as you grow over time. The stuff that we start to work on with this age group, we'll call it 13 to 18, is more of the strength and power component, whereas we don't really start addressing strength and power with the younger groups because we want them to be more comfortable with their movement, more coordinated, better balance, better stability before we start layering in those two other levels. So we'll start to put a little bit of that in today with some progressions, okay? Tyler, before I get going, you got anything else to add? Any questions coming in?
No, I mean, you mentioned just a second ago about, some stories that I have about, stability. Let us know in chat, everybody, if you have, if you're having any shoulder issues or anything like that. I had been plagued, I'm not swimming anymore competitively, but I had been plagued with lots of shoulder issues while I was swimming. And I've actually dislocated both of my shoulders twice. And that was more towards the beginning of my career. And everybody has noticed that, like, characteristic swimmer slouch. We all kind of like walk around and sit there like this, right? And that's because we do so much work with the front of our bodies that we oftentimes overpower the muscles on the back of our bodies. So that means that our shoulders back here aren't as stable and strong as they are in the fronts of our bodies. And for me, I've actually, I've dislocated both shoulders twice. And once I started paying attention more to stability and building up the backside of my body's musculature, I noticed that I started experiencing less shoulder pain and I started experiencing less shoulder problems. So this just some validation that what Lee is saying is totally true. I'm a living, breathing example.
And that's all great examples. Obviously, your sport is very much happening out in front of you. Lots of internal rotation to shoulder, lots of stuff, the musculature here. So building up the muscles back here that allow you to do this, both in your lower body and your upper body, will help you as far as injury prevention, but also help you as far as producing force in the water and having a more efficient stroke, okay? So the first thing we're gonna do, and I know that a lot of you do not get too hung up on this if you don't have tons of equipment at home right now, Tyler's gonna post a picture of kind of a care package of some things. If I could send all of my swimmers a very small amount of equipment, if they had to live on an island, which is kind of what we're doing right now, what equipment would I want them to have, okay? So dumbbells, mini bands, which are those small bands in the middle of your picture, a medicine ball. And if you don't have a medicine ball, that's okay. You can find something that weighs 4 to 8 pounds in your house and it'll serve its purpose. And bands, preferably with handles, okay? If you can get those pieces of equipment, you're off to a good start. Now, obviously, with this group, I'm gonna have a little bit of a stronger group than I have from the 9 to 12-year-olds. You may need a little bit more weight to be able to challenge yourself with some of the bigger exercises. That's okay.
Can you give us an example, Lee, of what range of weights people should be using in this age group?
So I can use a perfect example. Right before I jumped on this webinar, I was doing a 1-hour session with Nation's Capital Swim Club, all of their gold groups, and everyone has something different. In an ideal world, everyone would have every dumbbell from 5 to 80 pounds. That being said, I know that's not realistic for most people. So I would love with this age group, especially with the kids who are a little stronger, a little bit more physically mature, if you have 5 to 50 pounds, fantastic, but we can always make do. If we don't have enough weight, we can always add volume. We can always add more repetitions to challenge you, especially right now. You guys are out of the water, so you're not getting that 2 hours of repetition, that 2 hours of volume, or 4 hours in some cases a day. So we can always add more volume, more repetitions to challenge you. But the idea here is to stay strong and stable in the muscles and the joints so that when you come back to swimming, you're prepared and maybe even a little farther ahead physically out of the water, which hopefully will make you a better swimmer coming out of this. Hope that all makes sense. I do a lot of talking if you don't stop me.
No, that makes complete sense. There are a couple people asking about back problems and things like that. We'll get that to the end. We'll get to that at the end, folks. And this kind of stuff that we're asking you to, that we're going to be doing today, do like once or twice a week, at least right now. Also, just an FYI, if you guys stay until the very end of our presentation today, you're going to get an email that's going to contain a link to this replay so that you can go back through anything that we were going over. You're also going to get links to all the separate things that we just showed on screen. So don't worry if you don't have that stuff right now. Like Lee said, he's going to do a really good job at giving you guys alternatives and other things that you can use around the house. But again, if you wait till the end, we're going to send you all of that information, where to buy it, and most of it's pretty cheap. So hang out and stay engaged.
Yep. And at the end, I want to make sure I save time for a Q&A for people if they have specific questions. I want to try to get to as many people as I can and touch as many people as I can with this. So what we're going to start out with is a little bit of mobility, okay? So the first exercise we're going to do, and this is a typical warm-up that I have my swimmers do before we get into strength and conditioning, okay? So the first exercise we're going to do, I'm going to push this table out of the way so I've got tons of space. You guys should obviously do the same, okay? So the first exercise, and I'm sorry, I'm coming to you from my dining room. I'm not coming to you from the gym, obviously. So again, making do with what I've got. First exercise is called cat-cat, okay? We're gonna work on addressing the rhythm and the movement of all of the muscles along your spine and low back. Great exercise for everyone to warm up their backs. But if you think in terms of swim stroke, fly. You need that fluidity of the muscles along your spine. So we're going to kind of move as such. So you're going to set up right here in what's called neutral spine. Not too arched, not rounded. And then we're going to take you through that. So what you're going to do is kind of tuck your tailbone under. And when you tuck your tailbone under, your low back is going to round out. And then you're going to tuck your head under until you go into a completely rounded position. From there, you're going to restore yourself slow and controlled back to that neutral position. So you should just kind of feel a lot of movement here. You're not going to feel a burn or, the muscles doing a ton of work here. This is more just to get you moving and warmed up. And to be honest, I have no problem with you doing this exercise every single day of your life. So again, we're going to round out and restore back to neutral. You're going to do 10 of those, guys.
Go ahead and show us what 10 reps look like, and we can have everybody in chat do it with you, Lee.
Yep, absolutely. This will be my workout for the day right here, guys.
1. Everybody, you should all do this with him. Making sure that you're just getting that range mobility, warming up your lower back. Charlie, you're not necessarily supposed to feel anything right now other than stretching out and warming up those back muscles.
Yeah, so you can see the low back rounding out, the mid back rounding out, the upper back, shoulders, head and neck rounding out, and then restoring back to neutral. All right. The next exercise, you're also going to do 10 of, but you're going to do 10 on each side. Okay, I'm going to try and give you a decent look at this from a couple of different angles. These are called bird dogs. So we're working on the coordination and the stability from opposite side. It's called contralateral. So right arm, left leg, reach, straight line from that left heel to right fingertips. Get as long as you can. Stay balanced and braced. This shoulder right here is working on stability, while this one is working on movement. And you'll do 10 on one side. I'll give you a view from another side. 10 on the other. So as I go into extension, this glute is doing some work, this shoulder is doing a little bit of work, and my core is turning on so that I don't either arch or rotate or flex to either side. So we'll do 10 on each side of those.
All right, everybody, make sure you have enough time to get those 10 in on each side. And once you've done that, go ahead and answer the poll that we're putting up on your screen right now, but not until after you've done 10 on each side. We'll know that you've done all 10 on each side when you answer the poll, but don't do it before. So just like yesterday, we've got about 90, 93% of people that are doing this with us, which is awesome. So keep it up, y'all. These are called bird dogs, London. These are called bird dogs.
Tyler, how many people do we have with us today?
We have currently 353 people in the webinar right now. So this is awesome, y'all. It's really cool to see how many of you are here joining us. And, you know, the more people you tell about this, the more you guys stay engaged during this. You know, we're going to bring it back and do more of these. So this is a great first 13 and over session. We're going to have another next week. While everybody's finishing up their exercises, there's going to be an email going out today, and we're actually going to let you know about 10 webinars that we have next week. 10 webinars. All right. And we may add 1 or 2 more during the week. So keep your eye out for that, and also pay attention to our social media to be looking for our webinar announcements as well. So 95% of people have done that exercise now, Lee.
Awesome. The other 5% got to join us on this next one. Okay. So my swimmers will refer to this exercise as world greatest stretch. You'll also see it later. Tyler's going to post a version of a lot of this workout. It's kind of a screenshot from my app, and you'll see kind of the workout written out. But on there, it will be referenced to as elbow to instep. Okay, so this is a mobility drill that gets a lot of muscle groups that you need. Sorry that I'm leaving your screen, but I'll join back in a second. So you'll make sure that your feet are about hip width apart. You're going to take a big step with, let's just say, your left leg. And then from there, you're going to find the floor with your hands. Okay, now if you're looking at me from the side right now I'm rounded. I do not want you to be rounded. I want you to be one straight line. My favorite cue for this one is strong as steel from head to heel. So one straight line. Back leg is straight, forming a straight line from the top of your head to the back of that heel. Hands in contact with the floor. You're going to take the left hand inside of the left knee, bring your elbow to the instep of your foot, and then reach and rotate out. Now, one thing I want you to pay attention to, I see a lot of swimmers when they do this, they just get this rotation from their shoulder. They just fling their shoulder back like that. I don't want it to come from your shoulder. We already know you have tons of mobility at your shoulders. I want you to try and get the rotation from here, from your torso. Reach for the ceiling. You should feel a nice opening here. You should feel hip flexor stretch in this leg, possibly a calf stretch in the back leg. Possibly a stretch here. It depends on where you're tight. That's why it's world's greatest stretch. It will find your tight muscles. So you'll do that here, back, find the floor, and then rock back. Keep your hands in contact with the floor until you feel a stretch here. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side, and I'll show you from a slightly different angle. Big step. This is now right leg. Find the floor. Drop your hips, straighten out your leg. Now you can see strong as steel from head to heel, one straight line. Right elbow comes inside of right knee. And then reach for the ceiling. Rotating from here, from your trunk, not from your shoulder.
Make sure you get 10 reps in on each side here, folks, while Lee's going through his explanation of all this. Get 10 reps on each side.
I would say 10 reps would take you a really long time. So with that, I'm fine with you doing 3 on each side just to get yourselves moving. And then we're going to do one more mobility drill after that. And then we'll get into the rest of the workout.
All right, let us know if you did the world's greatest stretch.
All right, next one, guys. Inchworms, and you've probably done some version of this before, hopefully. So what you're going to do is hinge at your hips. So try not to just plop yourself down like this. You're going to hinge at your hips. Find the floor with your hands. Try and keep your legs as straight as you can. If you can't find the floor with your legs straight, it's okay to bend them. But as you walk out, I want you to start to try and straighten. Okay, so you find the floor. Walk out, keep your legs straight, into a high plank position, nice and stable here, and then walk your feet in. And that's 1. We're going to do 4 of those.
So 4 of the inchworms, y'all, 4 inchworms. Go ahead and do that on your own. We'll give you a little bit of time. While you guys are doing these exercises, I just want to let you know that both of the workouts this week contain a lot of introduction and explanation on the exercises that we're doing today and yesterday. Next week, it's going to be a little bit of a different animal. We're expecting a lot of you guys to be joining us next week. Next week's going to be more fast-paced, and we're going to be doing the workout, more or less live with a little bit less explanation. But for this time, just follow along. And while Lee is explaining these things to you, he's going to call out the number of reps that he wants you to do. And we want you to be doing the reps while he's going through his explanations. 96% that time. That's a new record for the people that did the world's greatest stretch. Great job, guys. Keep it up.
We're picking up. All right, so guys, one more thing while you're finishing up those exercises, please hydrate. On a daily basis, I tell my athletes to make sure to hydrate, but with what we're going through right now, hydration is a big aid to your immune system. So make sure you're hydrating. While I'm talking, feel free to take a couple sips of water.
Let's see how many of them brought a water bottle to this workout. You guys, come on. It looks like there were a lot more people yesterday in the 9 to 12 group that brought a water bottle. Only about 65% of you guys have brought a water bottle. So that's one thing I want you to make different for next week. The commute to this practice is really far, so you should have really no excuse to not bring a water bottle next week. So make sure you bring one next week. Yes, okay, 75% have brought a water bottle now.
All right. So next exercise is one of my favorites and one of my swimmers' least favorites. And the fact that it is one of their least favorite exercises lets me know that I need to keep it in the program because it's challenging, and it's the things that are challenging that will make you better. The things that come easy to you probably won't make you any better. So you have to go through some of that physical adversity, some of those challenges to make you better. It's called a bear crawl or baby bear crawl. It addresses both core, shoulders, hips, and the connection between them all. Okay, so what you're going to do, and I'll show this from a couple of different angles as well, you're going to set up. Let me show from here first. In that same starting position that you did for the cat-cow, but instead of doing any movement, we're going to try and not move your spine. We're going to try and stay really level between your hips, your trunk, and your shoulders. Okay, so no movement. The thing that you're trying to think of is pretend you had a glass of whatever you like to drink right here in your low back, and you don't want it to fall off. So start right here. Your knees come an inch from the floor. From there, you're going to move opposite side, arm and leg. So if I'm walking forward with my right arm, I'm going to lift my left leg. So here, down. And I'm going to crawl under control. Very small steps. Hips stay level, shoulders stay level. And you do 20 steps forward. And then you're going to reset and do the tougher one because you can't see where you're going, is backwards. So if I go with my left hand, it's right foot. And then right hand, left foot. You want to try really hard to leave the floor with the hand and foot and land at the same time. So you're not doing this. It's right hand, left foot, leave, and land at the same time. Keeping your hips level, not letting them rotate, not letting your hips rotate. Try and keep yourself level like a tabletop.
What's this called again, Lee?
We'll call this a baby bear crawl.
Okay, these are called baby bear crawls. Yep, baby bear crawls. Awesome.
And the tough thing about this, as opposed to just training Nation's Capital Swim Club right before I started with you guys, is I was able to see all of them performing all of their exercises, so I could pick things out, make modifications, help them make changes, or if there was something going wrong, obviously let them know. I can't see you guys, so big challenge here is for you guys to hear it, see it, and then make sure that you're trying to implement everything that I'm saying.
Okay, so let us know in chat why you think this exercise is a really good one for swimmers. Let us know in chat why you think that. I'm curious to hear what you say. And messages are going to come in here in just a second, but let's think about freestyle for a second. A lot of times in freestyle, you're pulling with one hand, with your right hand in this example, and kicking with the left foot. And vice versa, when you're pulling with the left hand, you're kicking with your right foot. So that means that there's a cross-body connection that you need to really work on. And these bear crawls actually induce that on land. So a lot of people are saying coordination and timing and stability, and this is all true, but it actually translates to swimming by forcing you to use that cross-body connection that Lee's getting at. Good stuff.
Yeah, so when you talk about backstroke or freestyle, you do have that contralateral type of movement as opposed to fly or breaststroke, where it's a different type of coordination of effort. It's a different type of endeavor. this exercise still plays because you're working your core, you're working on body position. You'll hear me say body position 500 times today. I apologize. But the more exercise we do to improve your body position in the water, the more efficient swimmer you'll be. And when you're more efficient, you can also allow yourself to be more powerful and get from one wall to the other wall as quickly as possible. So a lot of what we do, we're focusing on the body position. Okay? I lost Tyler's face. There he is. I only get you for that. Tyler, I need to make sure I can see you. All right. The next one we're going to go over, and if you don't have this piece of equipment, I'm going to show you a modification. Most of you probably don't have it yet. It'd be great if you had it moving forward. I give it to every swimmer when they start with me. It's called a mini band. Okay? They make them in lots of different colors and resistances. What you're going to do, and if you don't have it, I'm going to show this really quick. I'm going to guess. And in fact, Tyler, let's put that up as a poll just so I have a frame of reference. How many people have mini bands at home? And the answer might be 2%. Okay, Tyler's putting that up. I'm going to take this band, put it above my knees. From there, I'm going to do a little quarter squat. So you can see this from the side. Just a little squat. I'm not squatting all the way down. Just a little bit of knee bend, a little bit of hip hinge. From there, knee dive. So we're working on our lateral glutes. Okay? Knee dive in and drive it out. We do 10 on one side, 10 on the other, 10 with both. Once you're done with all those, the next thing we would do, still with the mini band on, is slide. 10 down, 10 back. Make sure the toes are facing straight forward, not turned out.
Let's make sure that we show the alternative for this too, because about 72% of people are saying they do not have mini bands.
72% makes sense. I'm surprised we have 28% that do. But that's also encouraging.
Yep. Again, folks, if you don't have this stuff right now, he's going to show you an alternative, and we're going to make sure that we send you a link to be able to purchase some mini bands for yourself at the end of the show today. So keep your eyes out for that.
Okay, so your alternative, because we're still trying to work that lateral glute muscle, okay? This out here, really important for all strokes, but breaststrokers, obviously, hips and lateral hips are a big part of your stroke, okay? So what we're going to do, you're going to go sideline like this. The bottom knee is going to come up. Top leg is going to be straight. Toes are going to be facing down and in. You're going to go 10 right here. You guys can do this with me.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Next one, drive this knee up and then bring it back. Big thing here is making sure this doesn't drop into here. We're using this to keep it lifted, and it doesn't come up out of that plane either. We're trying to stay right in that straightforward plane. If you were standing up, this would be exactly the way you would sprint or run. You would drive the knee straight up in front of you and back.
What is this exercise progression called, Lee?
This is just a sideline glute med complex, which is a long-winded answer. So really,
we'll call them Jane Fondas.
Yeah, you could also just call them Jane Fondas, but I think this audience has no idea who Jane Fonda is. So we're looking to make sure this guy right here is doing his job so that we're not falling, we're not lifting and going out of the plane, which is another exercise. Once you've done 10 of those, we've got one more to do. Very small circles, 10 in each direction. We're really trying to get these glutes to fire. You hopefully are starting to feel a little bit of something back here. Once you've done 10 of those, we'll just switch sides, guys.
Okay, finish up your exercise on the left side, and then we're going to move to our right side now. 10 of those lateral lifts, making sure your leg's right in line with your body. You don't want it behind your body or ahead of your body. Doing those 10 reps with Lee.
Don't turn. Keep it pointed down and in.
Very good. So somebody's asking, what happens if you have a sports hernia in your hip?
A sports hernia in your hip. That's interesting and a question that is beyond me. I would definitely defer to a physical therapist on that. Typically, I don't hear about sports hernias in the hip. I hear more about lower mid-abdomen. So I'm not sure if that would be a sports hernia or if it would be something with their labrum. And if it's a labral tear, obviously, portions of this are what a physical therapist would have you do, but it would be on a progressive continuum. It wouldn't be jump right to this. But we are, even with tears along the hip, we are looking to get more stability in the hip so that it's supported.
Okay. And I think ultimately the message is if there's something that we're asking you to do, chat, and it hurts because you have an injury, we'd probably encourage you to just write down notes on what this exercise is instead of trying to do it along. So if something hurts, like injury hurts, don't do it. If there's some muscle fatigue because this is challenging, that's different. There's a difference between fatigue and pain. We don't want pain. We want a little bit of challenging fatigue here.
And guys, here's what we can also do at the end of this. I'm going to make sure that Tyler gives out at least my Instagram so that you can DM me with one-off specific questions, and I'm happy to help and have those conversations. We can dig into things further. I mean, to be honest, I got a lot more time to do things virtually, have conversations with people than I did when we were operating in a normal world. So definitely feel free to reach out to me. I love connecting with as many swimmers and many athletes as I can, especially right now while time is a little bit more available. All right, so from there, now we've hit the hips, we've hit some shoulders, we've hit some core. Let's get into a little bit of a lift. All right, I'm gonna kind of adjust this. All right, I'm gonna make sure you can still see feet. Okay, so squats. Everyone's done some version of squats before, okay? There's a million ways to load a squat. Some of you guys that are on the older side, you may have done back squats, you may have done front squats, goblet squats, single leg squats, split squats. There's a million different ways, and we're going to start to add those in as we do these workouts moving forward over the upcoming weeks. But for today, I want to work on just good mechanics of what a squat is supposed to look like. So that being said, the first question I get when I'm talking to someone who's just starting to lift is, where should my feet go? Okay, so the answer is, it depends. What we're going to do today is what's called just a neutral position squat. Your feet are going to be about hip width to shoulder width apart. Toes are going to be facing straight forward, or if it feels more comfortable to be slightly angled out, hopefully you can see that on the screen. So this is neutral, and then this is turning them out a little bit. Whatever position feels comfortable for you. Here's the things we don't want to see. I don't want to see feet ever turned in, because if your feet are turned in, your knees are going to follow. So if I turn my feet in, my knees are going to do that. This is I won't get a lot of depth because my knees run into each other. This is as low as I can get. Okay, so if you look at that from the side, I know it looks really weird. That's as low as I can get my squat. I can't load my quads. I can't load my glutes. Can't get my hamstrings involved. It shuts me down. But more importantly, if I turn my feet in, this is going to be pretty rough on the knee. The knee does not want to travel in that fashion. Okay, to keep this kind of simple for today's purposes. So either neutral or turned out slightly. If you go a little wider and turn them out, that's also fine. Some of the breaststrokers who have a lot more mobility in here and want to work on that adductor strength, going wide and external may be very helpful for them. So I want you to just kind of find something that's comfortable for you. Other important cue is just going to be what's going on with your feet. Okay, so I'm going to point this down for a second so you can see feet. You don't have to see me on this. When you squat, your depth should be determined by what's happening at your low back and what's happening at your feet. Okay? You want to kind of try to focus on keeping what's called neutral spine. Okay? So you have this natural curvature in your back, right? This natural arch in your back. You want to go as low as you can while still maintaining that arch and maintaining heel contact with the floor. So if I squat all the way down here, my heels lift up and my low back is rounded. I've gone too low. I want to squat as low as I can relatively with my heels in contact with the floor and that low back in neutral, not rounded. So this is about as good as I'm going to get for squat depth with this foot position, and then I'm going to drive up, okay? Look at that from the front, guys. It'll look something like this. Squat, okay? Notice the knees are not diving in. They're going out this way a little bit. You can think about creating a little friction between your feet and the floor like you're trying. Don't actually turn them out, but think about trying to create that friction where you're trying to turn your feet out, because then the knees will follow. They'll go out rather than in. Okay?
How many squats do you want them to do right now, Lee?
For today's purposes, especially since we probably don't have a ton of weight, a ton of load for them to work with, we'll go for 15. Now, a really way to load this at home, if you have a heavy dumbbell, grab a dumbbell in a goblet fashion, like this, put the weight out in front of you, keep it high and tight so you don't let it drift down or out in front of you, and squat. We're gonna do 15 reps there, guys.
While Lee's doing these reps, just to let you know, if you don't have a dumbbell, you can grab like a can of soup, or maybe something else heavier like your backpack or your swimming backpack, and hold that in front of you and use that as your weight. So if you don't have these dumbbells, don't worry, you can use something else. Yeah, you can actually makeshift yourself a weight vest by just putting on your backpack, holding it in front or holding it behind. And that changes the load, because if you put your backpack on in front, it's trying to pull you forward. If it's back behind you, it's just giving you more load straight down. Both good. Okay. I had one of my swimmers in the last session who didn't have any weights yet. He's ordered them, but he didn't have them yet. He held his dog. He literally did a squat where he held his dog, squatted down, squatted up, dog cooperated, all good. That's awesome.
Willing to cooperate.
Okay, it looks like most people did the roughly 15 squats. That's great, but it's not quite as much engagement as we had last time, y'all. Let's make sure that everybody's doing this, okay? We want to keep this up, so we got to make sure that you guys are being engaged so we can keep coming back and doing this for y'all.
All right, so the next exercise is going to be a row. If you have a band, it's going to be really helpful. With this, you can load it up quite a bit, so heavier band or doing double bands. This is one band, but if I could wrap another band around there and grab it, even better. We're going to do what's called a row, okay? You can do a quarter squat, just like that, and pull, okay? Try and get your shoulders down and back. Try to pretend like you're trying to squeeze a pencil between your shoulder blades. Be careful with these shoulders as you pull, not to let them tip forward, because that's a bad position for your shoulder. You get that glide forward of the shoulder, it actually becomes an injury risk. So I want you to think about opening up your chest as you pull and squeeze between your shoulder blades. And that will be 15 reps as well.
You want to show them the alternative for if they don't have the bands?
So if you don't, find something, a harder surface to put one hand down on, and with the other hand, you're going to grab a weight. If you've got a dumbbell, great. If you don't, again, find something a little heavier that you can balance in your hand. One like that, whichever arm is the rowing arm, that is the rowing arm will be the back leg, and you're just going to pull. Same rules apply. Shoulder down and back as you pull. Don't let it bunch up near your ear. Think about pulling back towards your hip and squeezing each rep. And with that,
if your knees pop on the squats, by the way, you guys, that's not terribly uncommon. My knees popped all the time on squats. That's just the fluid in your joints moving around. Also, if you guys sign up for these workout classes next week, we're going to make sure that when we send out the reminder email that comes out 15 minutes before we start, that we let you know specifically what pieces of equipment that you need. But also, again, at the end of this replay or at the end of this webinar, you're going to get an email that's going to tell you which pieces of equipment that we talked about in the very beginning, with links on where you can go to purchase these so that they're ready to go for next week.
Awesome. All right. So once we're done with those, we're going to get back to some shoulder and core stability. Again, talking about body position. Okay? So with this one, somewhat similar to the bear crawl, except we're going to make your body much longer, so it's going to be harder to maintain. So you're going to take kind of a push-up position, except you're going to be narrow with your hands and wide with your feet so you can keep your hips level. It's going to look like this. Here, feet wide. Notice I'm a straight line, butt's not in the air, I'm not sagging, punching the floor away with my shoulders. Shoulder tap, shoulder tap.
How many reps?
We're going to go for 16, 8 per side. Make sure when you're doing this, you're not rotating your hips. You're not coming up. You're not sinking. So make sure when you go for this tap, you don't do that. You're keeping yourself level to the floor. Okay? 16 of those per side.
Go ahead and do 8 each side, y'all. 8 each side. Let us know in chat when you've actually done 8 to each side. Say, I did it in chat when you've done 8 to each side so that we know. You want to keep your head looking at the floor about a foot in front of your hands. You don't want to be looking straight forward because that's going to cause you to arch your neck. You want to have a nice neutral spine position. So you should be looking about a foot in front of your hands at the floor.
Yep.
All right. Looks like everybody's done it now.
We're always talking about neutral spine, so that also applies to your neck. Make sure you're not arching or rounding. You're kind of trying to maintain this position, chin tucked, looking right in front of you, not up, not down. Okay. So the next exercise, and normally when you're doing this on your own, we can do 3 rounds of everything. Today, we just want to make sure we get you a lot of stuff, give you some exposure to some of these things so you can start to implement them over a longer period of time. All right, so the next one's a push-up. Everyone's done a push-up in some form or fashion. With this group, I'm sure you guys have done tons of push-ups. I'm going to give you a couple of cues that I use with my athletes to make sure their push-ups look clean, they're getting full benefit out of them, and they're able to perform them well. So with the push-up, we're going to go anywhere from shoulder width on out. We won't get too wide. And again, much like with your feet on the squat, I want you to think about this. Do not turn your hands in because this is a really rough position for your shoulders. We're, again, internally rotated, which is really not where you want to be as part of your strength and conditioning program because you're already there doing internal rotation as part of your stroke millions and millions of times. Okay? So you'll think about neutral position, and then I want you to think, just like with your feet on the squat, try and turn your hands out. Don't actually turn them out. Just try and create that friction with the floor as if you were trying to, okay? So instead of doing a push-up like that, when you create that friction, your elbows will drop down this way a little bit, okay? Strong as steel from head to heel again, straight line out of your body. Here, down under control, and up. Down under control. I want you to pretend there's a tennis ball right here under your chest, and you're trying to tap the tennis ball. If doing push-ups, you can only do this, and that's about all you feel that you have the strength to handle, then I want you to go to your knees. When you go to your knees, make sure you're not doing push-ups like this. You tuck your tailbone under. Now you're going to get strong as steel from head to knees. Now I'm taking my feet out of it, and you want to form a straight line between your knees and your head and do the push-up here. Okay? There's nothing wrong with doing that. I'd rather you get a full range of motion from your knees than going all the way to that long lever push-up and not be able to get a full range of motion. Now, because this is an older group, I want to make sure I give you guys a progression. One that I like to do because it causes you to turn on a little bit more of your core and your hips is a single leg push-up. Make sure you do an even amount on each side. You go here, lift the leg just a little bit. So now my body wants to do that, wants to do that. I've got to maintain stability as I go through the push-up. Don't lift it too high to where you're arching. Just about 2-3 inches from the floor. Down, up. For this, we're going to do anywhere from 10 to 12 reps, 3 to 4 sets. Not 3 or 4 sets a day, but 3 or 4 sets in general.
So go ahead, y'all. Do 10 push-ups if you can, 12 if you're feeling especially good. Only after you've done those 10 to 12 push-ups, I want you to let us know I did 10 to 12. Let us know how many push-ups that you did in chat. And then we'll give them a second and you can start maybe talking about the next exercise.
Yep. So the next one we're going to do is going to be, we're going to work on the back side of your lower body. Okay? Exercise is called a single leg glute bridge. What you're going to do for setup. And we're going to be working glutes with a little bit of hamstrings. We want to try and take your low back out of it. I'm going to talk about how you can make sure you're keeping your low back out of this exercise. You're going to lie back. Hips in line with knees, in line with feet. Lie on back. If we're doing a single leg, it'll look like this. First, I'll show you both legs just so you get a good idea. You're going to tuck your tailbone until your low back flattens to the floor. And then you're going to push your feet through the floor, drive your hips up in the air. Okay? Right here, you should feel your glutes turning on. You should feel your butt muscles doing their job. And then you're going to slowly roll it down until your tailbone touches the floor again. If that's feeling easy, we'll go to the single leg version, which is In this example, right leg is down, left leg is extended, legs are staying flush with each other. You're gonna roll up, pushing just the right foot through the floor. My right glute is turned on, left glute is turned off, soft, down, under control. Push up and down. The way that you want to keep your low back out of this is by thinking about when you tuck that tailbone, you flatten out your low back, your ribs go down, and you only push up as far, I'll show you on the left side, you only push up as far as this hip will allow. If I try to get any more, I would have to extend my ribs, and now my low back is arching, my core is turned off. So I'm still getting glute work, but my core is turned off and my low back is at risk. We're gonna do 10 to 12 on each side with that, guys.
Okay, so if you can't do single leg, go ahead and do 10 to 12 double leg glute raises. And if you can do the single leg, we want you to do 10 to 12 on each side. Let us know in chat when you're finished if you did 10 double leg or if you did 10 to 12 each leg.
All right. I'll let you guys get through those exercises, and I'm going to give you a couple of exercises. Seems like a lot of people don't have a ton of equipment at home yet, so I want to make sure that I give you a couple of exercises using something that everyone has at home. Or I hope so. Okay, so we'll get through those bridges, and then we're going to work on that. When Tyler talked earlier about that rear portion of your shoulder, we're going to beat those up a little bit. Okay, so we talked about a lot of internal rotation in your sport, regardless of stroke. A lot of that internal rotation, we're going to start to work on external rotation and shoulder health.
Looks like most people are wrapping up with that, so let's go ahead and get started on the next exercise.
All right, so cheapest training tool I have, soup cans, okay? Make sure when you grab these soup cans for these exercises that they weigh the same thing. That way one shoulder's not getting more work than the other. If you have something a little bit heavier than soup cans, that's even better if you need more weight. Funny story from my last session, one of the kids didn't have any weights, so he grabbed himself a plastic tub of Prego pasta sauce, trained in the basement, and the pasta sauce went all over his carpet.
Oh, no.
I was literally cleaning up his mess while he was training. So your parents will not love you or I or Tyler if we're pouring pasta sauce all over the floor. So make good choices. So 2 exercises here. Or actually, it's going to wind up being 4 if you think about it. This one right here, Tyler's head's in the way there.
Here, I'll make myself smaller.
There you go. All right, so you're gonna lie down flat, and we're gonna take these 2 soup cans, thumbs up, and we're gonna draw 3 to 4 letters here. First letter that you're gonna make out of your body is a Y. Thumbs up, 1 second hold, and down under control. Make sure you're not getting into this position by arching your low back. You're gonna try and hold your brace in your core and just move through your shoulders. 5 of those. Then we're gonna do a T. Arms out. Make sure with this, your shoulders are not elevating up into your ears. We're going to go up and down. 1 second hold at the top. Next one's going to be an A. You can go palms down on this one. Up. Again, making sure your shoulders are going away from your ears, down and back. 1 second hold for 5. Last one, W. So if you can conceptualize this, you're trying to get your elbows down and back like this. And back. If you do this just with the weight of your arms, you should still be able to get yourself to feel it. And then as you progress, you can start to add your load. 5 of each of those, guys. And then check in with me when you're done. We're working in on those rear shoulder muscles, your rear delts and your external rotators of your shoulders. Again, so much internal rotation in the sport. We need to work on doing the opposite to strengthen those muscles to keep your shoulders safe.
So how many reps did you call out for him to do?
5 of each of those, so it winds up being 20 total reps.
All right. Let us know how many Y, T, A, and W's you did. So they're called Y's because it looks like a Y, like this. They're called T's because your arms are straight out to the side. They're called A's because you should stand up to make it look kind of like an A. And they're called W's because your arms will be like this on either side as you do that backwards rotation. Most people are saying they're done, so we can move on.
All right. Last one we're going to really hit the shoulder up with. One that I did not do yesterday with the younger group. You're going to lie on your side, grab that same load, whatever it is, tuck your elbow in at your side. If you've got a t-shirt or a pillow or something that you can put between your elbow and your torso, that would be great. Hand's going to go in here. We're going to go into internal rotation and then externally rotate. You should feel this in the rear portion of your shoulder. So here to there. And this, you can do more reps. So for 15 on each side, you should feel this in the rear portion of your shoulder, kind of right behind your armpit. Externally rotate as far as you can without turning your body. So everyone's going to have a different range of motion, and that's fine. We'll do 15 per side, and then we're moving on to some core work.
It looks like most people are done. Or excuse me, no, people are not done with this one yet. So let us know when you're done with those. What do you want to call those, Lee?
That's called shoulder external rotation. I would call it side lying external rotation, because there's another version of that, right? One that I use when I'm in the gym, or if I have access to a band, is a standing version, which changes things a little bit. So if we're here and doing this with the band, out here, the band is pulled tighter, so I've got more resistance. So it changes the resistance profile. So out here is getting a little tougher. Here is easier because the band is less tight. Versus here, when I'm doing it with the suit can, it's tougher here. And then when I get up here, it's no longer tough on my external rotation of my shoulders because the weight is no longer pulling me this way, it's pulling me down. So it just changes. I love both exercises. That's standing external rotation with a band. This is side lying external rotation using suit can, I guess, in this case.
And just to address something, I'm hearing a lot of people saying that their shoulders and their hips are popping. Guys, there's a difference between a pop and the tendons in your shoulders and hips moving around. So oftentimes when people say that they're popping, it's just your tendons and things moving around. So that's semi-normal. Don't get too terribly concerned about that. But if there's a really loud pop that somebody 5 feet away can hear, maybe don't do that exercise.
Yeah. So the way it works, guys, the general rule is if your pops, cracks, whatever they are accompanied by pain, it is time to seek some form of professional guidance, whether it's physical therapist, doctor, whatever it may be. But popping and cracking in general is just joints moving, okay? Now, that being said, if you're getting a lot of popping and cracking and a lot of laxity in a joint, let's say the shoulder, that gives you all the more reason to really hone in on these shoulder stability exercises, because that's your body's way of telling you it's a little lax in there. So we'll just use this bone right here as a little socket here. And if it's moving around in there a lot and it's doing popping and cracking, it may be a little loose. And loose isn't necessarily a problem as long as you're thinking, I need to get stable around that joint, or it could be a problem later on. So just think in terms of that.
Very good point. You want us to end up with one, maybe two more exercises, and then we'll open it up to a little bit of Q&A?
Yes. All right. So if we got 2 or 3, let's do these real quick. First one, hollow hold. Hollow hold is one of my favorites and one of my sort of least favorites. So a couple of ways to do this. First of all, when you lie back, I want you to think about, once you go into this position, this is my hollow hold, low back needs to be pressed to the floor. I shouldn't be able to even slide a piece of paper underneath your low back. This is the regressed version. Just holding this brace right here, I should already feel this. If that feels easy, your core is strong, good job. We want to get into a longer body position. We'll go into a streamline hollow hold. If that still feels easy, add some kicks. Okay? Kicks are going to happen at the hips, not at the knees. So here, long, and you guys can obviously understand where this plays in swimming, okay? Longer body positions and the ability to hold body positions over long periods of time. It's going to help with your dolphin kick. It's going to help with longer races, longer practices. It's going to help with body position through all your strokes. So the longer you can hold a good body position, strong and stable, this should be very challenging. If I even want to make it more challenging, I could add a load above my head, which is trying to pull me back that way. But my core is not going to allow it. Okay? So with that, I would say take 20 to 30 seconds. Go through whichever progression or regression feels challenging for you. You should feel no low back pain. You should only feel your core turning on. If you're feeling low back pain, do the regression. do this version instead of this version. Okay. 2 more exercises real quick, guys. First one, Russian twists. You've done these before. You can grab a load, knees and feet pushed together. You're just going to rotate fast. Head follows the load. Rotate fast. Make sure you're not touching the floor. Touching the floor stops the weight for you. I want your core to stop the weight by decelerating it, by stopping it before it goes to the floor. And we can do 20 on each side. Okay? And then last one, I want you to do a little experiment. When you're done with those, I'll give you a second to finish. The last one is, and it's one that I typically teach when I go teach fitter and faster clinics. I want everyone to go into a plank. I can't see you. I'm going to trust that you're doing a plank. Okay? I want you to spend 20 seconds in that plank. I want you to feel it where you feel it. Okay? Just kind of take an inventory of where you feel this exercise, how it feels to you, how hard or easy it is. You got about 10 more seconds. Then I want you to check in with your body. Feel where it's challenging or it felt easy. I want you to think, wow, those are easy. Okay, you probably have done a ton of planks in your day on full deck. Okay, now I'm going to teach you what's called a hard style plank. I'm going to attempt to make it more challenging and address more of the muscles and more of the body positions that I think are important in swimming. All right, so with a hard style plank, you'll start right here like this. You'll push your fist gently into the floor. So give yourself a little push into the floor with your fists. Then I want you to gently pull your elbows back. Don't actually move them on the floor. Just create friction between your forearms and the floor. So push into the floor with your fists, pull your elbows back, and then straighten out your legs as hard as you can. Squeeze your butt, straighten your legs hard, keep pushing into the floor with your fists, and pulling your elbows towards your hips, and hold that for 20 seconds. And then our last hold for the day is I want you to check in with Tyler and I want you to tell him which plank was harder. So both have their place and there's tons of other progressions we can do, but I want you to think about when you plank, getting rigidity, getting really rigid and tight throughout your body. Don't just think of a plank as an ab exercise. Think about it as a total body stability exercise.
Okay, most people are saying that the hard style, of course, was harder.
No shocker there. But most kids, when you get them up and you tell them to plank, they just kind of plop into that normal position and they can hold it. I had one kid who held a plank when we were assessing them at the beginning of the season. He held a plank for 11 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty dumb. We were all waiting for him to finish so we could go on to the workout.
Okay, looks like people are wrapping up with planks.
Exercise is an introduction to dry land for today.
All right, sweet. So let us know, chat, if somebody actually knows the person that you were just talking about, Lee. That's kind of funny. So we know that some of your swimmers are here, which is great. Yeah. Let us know, chat. Go ahead. What was that? I'm sorry.
I'm guessing some of my my RMSE kids are on today.
Yeah. All right, chat. Let us know in the chat box, what questions that you have for Lee. Lee's able to see what you're chatting. So, he'll be able to address those directly. Also, again, wait until the very end and you're going to get an email with a replay of this video and links to all of the different pieces of equipment that he talked about. Also, I'm going to show on the screen right now a full layout of this workout. So go ahead and take a screenshot with your phone. And, you can do this later on today and do the full workout or even tomorrow. And be able to take a little bit away from this. All right. And if you don't, here's a question. Does Tyler still swim? I don't still swim for training, but I do still get in at all the fitter and faster clinics. So if you want to swim with me when all of this quarantine stuff goes away, I'm going to be doing some clinics this year. So make sure you visit fitterandfaster.com to sign up for some of my clinics. Here's a good one. What should you do about very sore muscles, or what should people be thinking about as it relates to sore muscles?
Well, keep in mind that soreness is just your body's way of giving feedback, right? So your muscles are sore because you worked. That's okay. Being sore in your sport more than most other sports just kind of comes with the territory. There's a difference between soreness and injury. There's a difference between soreness and pain. Soreness is okay, but you do want to kind of check in with your coaches. If you feel abnormal soreness, you should let your coaches know, especially your strength and conditioning coach if you have one, so that they know kind of how to, we need to be flexible with our programming. If you had a really tough week of practice and or meets and your body feels really beaten up, we as coaches, or you if you're handling your own strength and conditioning, need to know when to back off a little bit or when to reel things in, because our job is to supplement and to enhance your swimming, not just beat you up because we had a plan that we wanted to do this today. So we kind of have to be pliable with it. Doesn't mean don't work out. It doesn't mean if you took your time where you were sore and said, I'm sore, so I'm not going to do my strength and conditioning, you would almost never do strength and conditioning, because in your sport, you're sore pretty frequently, okay? Especially in certain areas, obviously shoulders, and depending on if you had a big kick set, maybe your legs are beaten up. So just think in terms of, I need to get in my exercise, but I also need to be mindful and I need to be smart about it.
There was a question that came in about using a roller, and this is a perfect time to talk about your roller. Rollers are great to use to keep your body nice and flexible and limber. And especially if you're sore, I know it hurts, but using a roller across like a sore quad muscle or a sore lower back can really help flush out that soreness, which is really great. Melissa asked if these should be done daily. Really, if you don't do this daily normally, don't do it daily now. It's a good way to get injured, but it would be good to start out doing this once or twice a week and then allowing your body to recover in between. There are a lot of questions about nutrition that are coming in. Next week on Friday, we're actually going to have Chloe Sutton and Sierra Runge on talking about athletic nutrition. And also they're probably going to be doing some cooking demonstrations. So that would be a really good one to look out for as we come up come up to next week. What else do we have here? So we already talked about popping, Avery. Popping is semi-normal. It's okay. But if the popping is associated with pain, don't do it anymore. Okay. Go and speak to a professional about that. Looks like a lot of questions are coming in about nutrition now. So we're going to make sure again to address nutrition questions next week. So be sure to look out for that stuff. And we're going to start wrapping it up. Okay. So, and there was another question that just came in just now. Is there a download of this workout that you plan on showing? You're going to get an email. Once again, I've said this like 10 times today. You're going to get an email with the replay. And if you go and look back through the replay and pull up the screenshot of that workout, you can write it all down and get it from the replay. Okay. So let's, Lee, before we wrap up, do you have any last messages for us?
Yeah, there's a bunch of good questions in there, and I'm happy to answer questions, like I said, on an individual basis, especially if it's something very specific to you. Best way to reach me is give me a follow, Lee Sommers PT that's my Instagram feed or my email, Lee Sommers PT at Gmail, or you can find me on Instagram, Lee Sommers PT. I think it's a great way for me to connect with you guys on an individual basis and kind of answer your specific questions about you, whether it's stroke specific, whether it's your body or your strength and conditioning program, because you guys are all in different places. So I'm happy to do that. So please feel free to reach out.
Great. Well, I've written Lee's email address and his Instagram handle in the chat window. So go ahead and check that out. Also, again, our replays are going to come out for this specific webinar to your email. But if you want to go and look at all of our past replays, you should go to fitterandfaster.com/FFT live. Also, don't forget to pay attention to Fitter and Faster's social accounts. Again, we're going to be announcing at least 10 webinars later today, and they're all going to be spread out about 2 per day next week. And we encourage you to join us whenever a topic comes up that you're interested in. Lastly, Fitter and Faster has a really valuable product called Swim Videos on Demand that you can find at swimvideos.net. That's SWIM videos.net. It's filled with hundreds of drills and full of really useful swimming information, along with explanations from our top clinicians. I'm also going to flash an offer up on your screen right now that you can click when you're ready to leave to go and check that out if you would like. This is a great time to sit down and really pick apart what you're doing, y'all. Try to gain as much knowledge as possible during this downtime, and our app is a great source of information. Thank you very much to everybody who attended today. As always, stay safe, stay positive, and keep a lookout for future events. And wash your dang hands. Goodbye now.